Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, you'll meet a wildly successful entrepreneur who is revolutionizing the hiring process. His incredible journey just ahead.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
So there's an old expression, there are 3 types of people in the world: the folks who make it happen, the people who watch it happen, and the people who say, what just happened? My next guest is definitely somebody who makes it happen. He is a serial entrepreneur. He's my new friend, Michael Nadeau. He is the founder and CEO of Cnect. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Very cool. Well, I want to talk about how you're revolutionizing the hiring process. And it actually begins with an early passage in your life when you actually had a job looking at resumes.
Yeah, it's ironic. In the early 90s, I was in college and I saw a class called business consulting. Didn't know what it was, but thought, well, I'm going to have to get a job someday. So business sounds good. Let's get some experience. And they lined all the students up, which was interesting. And I think the students in front of me went to a daycare in Dover, New Hampshire, where I'm from. And me and 4 kids went to a staffing company in Nashville, New Hampshire. And, I grew up in the military, so, shirt and tie, and went in there, trying to look the part. And we walked in the room and they handed us a stack of resumes and said, what do I do? This call these people. So what do I say? And they handed us a script. You're looking for a job, contract or perm. And back then the IT business was really, blossoming, and everybody was just trying to find talent. And so that was my start. I started in staffing and recruiting, and moved down to Boston eventually, and then found my way to Dallas in 1998 and continued to work in the IT consulting space.
Wow. And you've built very successful companies. Tell us how you got into the hiring space.
So I had some HR tech that we had built in the wellness space in the early 2000s to about 2015. And after we exited that business, I had started a new company, a new development company, but I also started a marketing firm. And one day I walked into the office of this gal that was working for us, and ironically, when I walked in there, she was reading resumes. And I said, do people still do this? Like, people still have resumes? It just seems like we live in a digital world, and it was really surprising to me that we hadn't come up with a way for people to tell their story. You're supposed to take your entire career, whether it's short or long, and put it on a piece of paper, and how are you going to stand out in the crowd? And the whole process just seemed to be archaic and outdated and didn't seem to fit into the way we live and consume information today.
Sure. And it seems like the hiring process is very inefficient right now. There are jobs that are posted that don't exist. There are applicants who ghost employers and vice versa. Tell us about Cnect and how it works to differentiate the whole process.
Well, the entire basis of the platform was built on changing the experience. That nobody really says, oh, my hiring journey was really fun. Employers don't say that, applicants don't say that. So we really wanted to change the entire technology stack, but really it was centered around the experience. We got to make people feel more engaged. And so the first thing we did was we wanted to have a way for people to tell their story. Everyone has their own story. They're more than just a resume. So we built in this video technology where someone can do a first impression video or sort of a first interview video and say, hey, I'm Michael Nadeau. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I love building tech solutions that help small to mid-sized businesses. And just that brief introduction. And when you look at the time that it takes to actually hire somebody,
sure,
it takes almost 2.5 hours to get to a first interview, only to know in 20 seconds, this isn't quite a good fit. And so why are we doing that? It seemed inefficient. And so we felt like not only could we help someone tell their story, but we could help an employer analyze whether there was chemistry present, because chemistry drives culture in your company. And that's sort of the most important thing, is you're building a business to have a good, strong culture. And so the next part of this was for employers. We wanted them to have the ability to streamline other components of the hiring process, automate workflows. And we've all heard of AI and machine learning. Well, we can automate a lot of this process and create engagement with applicants to make sure they're actually interested in the job, qualified, invested folks. And so there's a totally different way of looking at hiring. The tools that were out there are great, but on a standalone basis, you needed a whole fleet of those tools in order to make the platform come
Absolutely. We were on your YouTube channel. We're going to roll a video, and I want you to kind of narrate this for us, because I was surprised to learn that there are no video platforms right now for the hiring process. I mean, it seems very intuitive. I think a lot of the dating sites allow you to post a video. Why wouldn't a hiring company do the same?
Yeah, look, there's a few video platforms out there. One of the things that I've learned about technology over the course of my career is a lot of the solutions that are available, they're almost unattainable for a small business.
Right.
Like the price point's way too high to use some of these video interviewing platforms. And the ones that we saw that did do a great job of storytelling, they were, not only were they big and expensive, but they didn't create a great experience for the user. Meaning, let's say I applied to a job at one of the big companies, the Fortune 50 companies, and they said, hey, answer these interview questions. So I'd go onto this video interviewing platform and say, 3, 2, 1, go. And I'd answer my questions, and God forbid you sneeze in the middle of it if something goes wrong. And then let's say I interview at another company. Well, I go back to that same platform and I re-record my videos, and I have no engagement. So a lot of the tech platforms that we saw didn't give the applicant control of their data, and it didn't give the applicant the ability to control their content. So they were constantly redoing everything over and over.
Yeah, and you've had a lot of success on college campuses. Why don't you talk about that?
Yeah, you're coming out of college, you don't have a lot. You've got a degree and you've got a story. You generally don't have any work experience, and employers are trying to get to know the real you. And so again, putting your best foot forward through a letter or writing something, and quite honestly today, it's even hard to decipher writing, because are they really writing it or is the machine writing it? The machine is getting much smarter than most of us could ever dream to be. So we're trying to figure out a person's true authentic self. Like, who are you? Tell me about yourself. One of my favorite interview questions that we send out through the platform is, what are you passionate about? You really want to know about a person. Tell me what you're passionate about. What gets you up in the morning? What do you want to do with your life? And just seeing how someone responds in those answers can really separate. And especially for the younger generation, tools like this are really the only thing they have. They have a story, and there's a fit for everyone out there, and it's a matter of finding that right fit.
Absolutely. I want to talk about both the employer side and the employee side. Let's start with the employer side, and we've got some video that we're going to roll right now. Talk about the experience for employers.
Well, we wanted to make the experience for employers really easy, right? A lot of the platforms that are out there are great tech stacks, but they're not easy to navigate. They're hard to go through. The second thing, so think about setting up an account on our platform like setting up a Zoom account. It's just that easy, like in a matter of minutes. We wanted to be able to integrate with their careers page. So as they added jobs, they'd immediately show up on their careers page. But then there was a lot of things that were missing on a company's careers page. And what we learned was 86% of people click on a job, they read the job description, they open up a new tab and Google that company and try and find out what it's like to work there. Who is Jeff Crilley, and why do I want to work for this guy?
Right.
So we embedded video on the careers page so an employer could also tell their story, and the team can tell their story, the department could tell their story about why they're hiring. So we built all that stuff real easy. We embedded AI all through the platform, but in a way to humanize and streamline the process. And of course, for an employer, every applicant is met at the moment that they apply. So as soon as an applicant come in, everyone gets greeted. Thank you so much for applying to our company. Sure. We want to create a great experience for those folks coming in. And then we can immediately engage them in that workflow. I can ask basic questions like, tell me about your salary requirements. Are you okay with these office hours? Hey, we need you on these shifts. And then I can ask job-related questions. And of course, we can help writing those questions around, the best questions to ask a salesperson. How were you measured in your last job? And we can have them answer via video or text, but obviously video is one of the best ways because you're getting to see them answer. And so what happens is, as a person completes these processes, the folks that are not interested wean themselves out of the process, which is great. But the ones that are interested and are qualified, the employer is looking at a a pretty full picture of somebody. They've heard them answer the questions. They've seen how they respond. They've also seen how quickly they're responding, which to me gauges that interest level that we're looking for. And the other thing that it does for companies, let's say you and I needed to hire an accountant. Well, why do we both need to interview her? Why don't we just agree that these are the questions we need to ask and have them answer those questions and then watch them and give our feedback?
Right.
And so what we found through this entire process was using the platform to its fullest, hiring is about 90% faster. So you think about
That's
that.
amazing.
How long does it take to read a resume?
Right.
Okay, so you'd say it takes me 2 minutes or a minute. That's 300 minutes.
Right.
How many are going to go through this process and this process? I'm telling you, it's 90% faster when you just let the system run itself.
And you were making the point before the show that I think you said Nike gets something like 1 million applicants a month, but they're not able to get back with them, and that can actually hurt your brand.
Sure. Or you end up relying on a machine to make decisions, which is what everyone's fear factor is with AI and machine learning is the computer judging me? Is there bias based on that? So we believe by allowing someone to tell their story and engaging with them immediately, we give companies the best chance of finding great people, but we also give people the best opportunity to share their story.
Sure. Let's drill more down on the employee side, and we've got some video to illustrate this as well. What's the employee experience like on your platform?
So there were 5 sort of core pillars that we built the platform for people. And the first one was writing resumes aren't fun, right? There's professional people that actually make a living by writing resumes for you. It's a daunting task. Heck, I can't even remember what I did 3 months ago, right? So just keeping up with your profile. So we allow people to build a digital profile. They can, of course, drag and drop their archaic resume if they have one. You know, it's probably they can put it on next to their encyclopedias above the fireplace, because no one's going to have a resume in the future. Everyone's going to have a digital profile. So number 1 was no more resumes. Number 2 was the ability to introduce yourself. You know, first impression video, we built some very cool teleprompter in there, and they could write a script and practice if they're a little nervous on camera. Number 3 was no more first and second round interviews. We can do them all digitally. Ask me questions, I'll get back to you. It's the way we talk. You texted me this morning, I text you back. And that's the way asynchronous communication works. Number 4, we wanted people to have the ability to get feedback. It's probably the number 1 complaint applicants talk about when they talk about the hiring process. I applied and I never heard anything. And that's not good for people, but it's also not good for companies and their brand.
Right.
And then the 5th thing, which I'm a big fan of, is Cnect is private. We will never sell the data that's on Cnect. You control where your content goes. If you apply somewhere and they don't get back to you, you can withdraw your data from them, and only you release your personal information.
Sure. You were also making the point before the show that Amazon has really trained us all to expect feedback. You know where your package is. You even get a picture when it's delivered. That has to be applied to the hiring process, doesn't it?
I think it's crucial, and I think for us we have to go to the norms of the world. So there are 3 big trends in the world today. One is text messaging style communication is never going anywhere, right? Social media and digital communication is not going anywhere. The use of video and content. Heck, the way we consume information is becoming different. I grew up in that era where we had 4 channels. Right. There were just 4 of them. That's what was on TV. And today
you had rabbit ears, and you had to put tinfoil on the rabbit ears to get PBS.
Yeah, especially in the middle of nowhere, I'm sure that was a fact. But the other thing is, our propensity to want information quickly is only, it's never going to change. It's only going to get worse. You want to buy something, you want to buy it now. There's a filter, I believe, on Amazon, get it today. I mean, which is amazing, but that's what people expect. So when you think about going to work for a company and I applied there and I don't hear back from you, to a world that is expecting it now, we've got to bridge that gap. And tools like Cnect help bridge that gap.
Amen. Congratulations on your success. We've got a couple minutes left. Final thoughts. What would you like to leave people with?
Yeah, I think, when you think about, for employers, changing, it's not just changing your tech stack, it's changing the way you have to think about hiring. It's not take a job, post it on this job board, hope and pray things come in. One of 2 things happen. You don't get any response, or you get so much you can't get through it. And I had a friend of mine down in Houston owns a dealership, and he told me he had posted a job and got 100 applicants that came in. And he said he spent 3.5 days going through all these applicants, and he said, Michael, I've only got through like 35 of them. And he said, half of them don't have the experience that I'm looking for. I need someone that's got these specific skills. I said, well, where are you at in the process? And he said, well, I got to get back to it. I have a job to do. I'm trying to run my business. And I said, you know what? My fear is that one person that could actually change your company might be sitting at like 98 in the pile. I said, what if I could take all those people? You tell me what you want me to ask them. You tell me what you're looking for, and I could just present back the 8 that you need to look at. And you could press a button and hear them speak and hear them answer the questions. What would that do for you? He's like, that would like change my life. And then it will also change that person's life who's looking for that job. So,
wow. You inspire me. I love how your eyes light up when you talk about this subject.
Yeah,
this is absolutely your baby. We're going to end with your website, which is connected.com. The great Michael Nadeau. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
That's it for now. We'll see you next time.